Warning: All Things Crime is a true crime production that may contain violent or disturbing material. Viewer or listener discretion is advised. Hey guys, Jared with All Things Crime here, coming at you from the Western Mountains in Utah County, and just thought I'd throw a few thoughts together. Hope you're all doing well. Enjoy. Hey guys, not sure if you can see that very well, but I'm following a little animal trail that goes up to the side of this mountain, headed up to that peak up there. You can see the trail right there, kind of banks to the left, kind of goes up. Animals are a lot smarter than what we think they are, and frankly there's a lot of military applications to it, but there's a lot of strategic understanding to it as well. Why would an animal walk over here instead of walk right up the ridge like that? Well, the reason is because they understand if they're up on the ridge up there, they'll be silhouetted. And you know, that may not matter. I mean, this is obviously ingrained in them over millions of years, and the key is if they're down here, then the skyline or the ridge right over there actually blocks them from anything that's on the other side of that hill. So it protects them visually. I mean, obviously they're way exposed up here, but if you're an animal and you're not worried about a man who has a gun that can reach you from a long ways away, hundreds of yards, then the only thing you have to worry about is being seen by other animals, predators. And so they hide along the side. Well, a lot of people do that too, and they will hide their true selves from being seen on the ridgeway. And you know, along that ridge there, they'll hide their true selves to sneak up to the top without actually being seen. And you know, some people do that because they just don't want other people to know what they're doing. Some people do it because they're under constant attack and they want to be able to accomplish their goal without getting too many spears and too many attacks before they get to the top. But most of the time it's because they're weaker and they want to be concealed from the other people, from the other animals that might be also striving to get to the top, or might have a different idea, such as you know, eating them. So it's important to understand which category you fall in and which category other people fall in, because it can make a huge difference in how well you accomplish your goals. But there's always going to be people that are trying to hide who they really are and hide their vulnerabilities, not necessarily because they want to play on the same playing field as you, but because they want to undercut everything that you're doing. And those of us that are striving in business and life in general, we want to play by the fair rules and have everybody play by the same rules. You know, it's tough because there's always going to be people that are skirting the side and trying to get around what the rules are and not be exposed for who they really are. So be wary of those people. And you know, when you find them, they're usually the ones, they're like cockroaches. They run away as soon as the light is shined on them. And those are the type of people that you just want to absolutely avoid in life. All right, little lesson from nature. You know, there's something really interesting about predators versus prey and how things operate, and the similarities between what happens in nature and what happens with people. And you know, if you think about in nature, predators, they never go after the really strong. They go after the weak. And most of the time, especially if they're hunting in packs, but even if they're hunting alone, their number one goal is to isolate and divide the herd, divide the animals one from another so that they can isolate them. And then once they isolate them, they find different ways to attack. And most of the time they'll attack from behind. And you know, a lot of people are the same way. If you look at people that prey on others, they will divide. You know, people typically don't attack physically. They'll attack from behind, they'll attack in words, they'll attack in actions, they'll undermine you, and they'll try to get you from behind. But most importantly, they want to get you divided. They want to get you isolated away from the other animals, the other people. And if you look right now at what's happening in society, there's a lot of people that are using their positions, they're using their words, they're using their platforms to divide us and to try to keep us away from each other, keep us away from being united around anything. And it's damaging. And it's what's critical is it exposes us to dangers that we normally wouldn't have. And if we don't fight this off, it's just going to be like, you know, the herds, the calves and the young or the old, you know, the weakest of the herd are usually the ones that the animals, the predators attack first. And but with people, it's scary because they'll go after whoever they can isolate first, and they'll pick us off one at a time. Which brings me to really what this is all about. And if you think about how farmers and ranchers from time immemorial really have used like sheepdogs, for example, but they'll use different animals, they'll use barriers, they use different ways to protect the herd. And that's with the whole concept of the sheepdog. If you've ever read about that, is that the sheepdogs, the people are the ones that they're usually small and fast, and they don't necessarily want to completely destroy the predators, but they're fast enough that they can, they're almost like a mongoose versus a snake, where they can, they're fast enough that they can fight off the predators and make enough noise, especially until the rancher arrives with help, or they can attract more sheepdogs to assist them in their, in protecting the herd. Law enforcement and military are our sheepdogs, and first responders are our sheepdogs. And those the people that are willing to go out there and face the predators and fight them off, so that we can, as part of the herd, we can do our thing. Most of us don't select that. Very, very few. There's only about 700,000 law enforcement officers in the entire United States. And you figure that's for a population of 330 million. That's a pretty low percentage. If you include firemen and military, then the numbers get a little higher, but it's a very, very small percentage. But those are our sheepdogs. And right now, our sheepdogs are under attack, folks. And we have got to work harder in helping the sheepdog and supporting the sheepdogs and supporting our law enforcement and those that are fighting to keep us safe. Because if we don't, they're getting picked off one at a time. And you can see it. The people that are using divisive language, the people that are using divisive policies, trying to separate us from one from another by race, by gender, by ideology, by our speech, it's dangerous, because those folks don't want to make things better. They want to make it so that we are isolated, and then they can pick us off and weaken us one at a time. And if you don't believe me, boy, it's going to be too late. It's almost like, well, we can learn a lot of things from nature, just like that animal trail that goes up the side of the ridge. We can learn a lot of things about how nature protects itself. How do herds protect themselves? And a lot of it is because, like even if you look at buffaloes, the buffalo will put the cows and the calves in the middle, and then the males, all the large males, will encircle them, and they'll be behind them so that all the males are facing outward, and they can fight off just about any wolf pack or anything else with that technique. Well, those of us that want to have safe communities, those of us that want to have the ability to make a living and do things without being harassed, we've got to circle around and unite and form a strong encirclement around our society, because it's being attacked it's just absolutely amazing. You look at all the different things that we've talked about in the last few months, including my trip down to Panama, and seeing the migrations there and what's happening there, to just all the different things that's happening with law enforcement. Our cops and the deputies and law enforcement in general are being attacked unbelievably. Every single day we're hearing about another officer that's killed. And if you think about the percentages, guys, we cannot afford to lose these guys. And the men and women that are willing to put the uniform on and go out there and protect us so that we can make a living in peace, and that we can have a safe business environment and a safe living environment, they are being picked off one by one. And I read just this morning that there was a big altercation. I guess 4 officers were shot and 1 was killed. I think it was down in Texas. And if you look at the percentages, guys, we can't afford to lose these people anymore. And the only way we're going to survive this is if we as citizens stand up and support our law enforcement. Because if we don't, there's only so much pain and suffering and humiliation. These guys are getting water thrown on them and being taunted. And there's only so much of that any human can handle before they just decide, you know what, I've had enough. I can go do other things. And if the people don't appreciate it, I'll tell you, most of the cops that I talk to, what they really want is just a little gratitude, a little appreciation. They just want to be able to, somebody to say, hey, thanks for serving. Thanks for being there for me. We appreciate it. And, these poor guys and gals that are serving in big cities, the people, and this is alarming. The people are afraid to acknowledge them, because if some, thug sees them saying, hey, giving a cop a thumbs up or something, when the officer leaves, they're going to go harass them and, maybe even, shoot or kill them. And, there's a lot of vicious people out there. And the only thing that stands in between those vicious people and us are law enforcement and our first responders. And yes, anybody that breaks into my house is going to really regret it. I hope they're right with God when they do, because, I'm going to take care of them. And there's a lot of people that are like me, but at the same time, as a business owner, I can't afford to provide my own security and do business. You can't do both. And those of you that think that, hey, we need to just, all the rhetoric needs to be settled down and we're okay, you're not one of those business owners that has a store in the middle of Portland that's being burned. So you need to reevaluate what you're thinking, because it's just a matter of time. Anybody that supports what's going on right now with the lawlessness, no bail, guys they're getting arrested, they're getting thrown in jail, and because there's no bail required, they're getting let out the same day. If you support policies like that, you know what? You may be okay for a little while, but it's just a matter of time, because eventually they're going to come after you too. And all you're doing is moving yourself a little further down the buffet line. And eventually the beast is going to get you too. So, all right, guys, just wanted to put together some quick thoughts, and hope you're doing well. Be safe out there. And next time you see an officer, thank them. Tell the first responders you appreciate what they do, because they're not doing it for the money, I'll tell you that. And they deserve our appreciation. Hey, y'all, one other thought that I wanted to throw out there is I don't ever want to give the impression that I think, life is perfect and society is perfect right now, because it's not. I mean, we all have lots of issues to deal with personally. We have issues to deal with as a society and a community, but you'll never solve those problems by being negative, using guilt and shame and intimidation and threatenings, things like that. It doesn't motivate people. If we want society to change, we have to use positive things. We have to use things like, what we envision the future will be like. Dr. King said it more eloquently than just about anybody ever has in the entire world. He said, he envisions a future that it's based totally on character, and that's the way we should view things. We've got to stop. We've got to stop with the division. We've got to stop with people being okay with putting one group over here and another group over here, especially if they're focusing on kids. Nothing disgusts me more than those that are willing to use kids for their political agenda. But I'm not. I hate getting into politics here on All Things Crime, but with law enforcement, it seems like everything's politics right now. Their ability to enforce the law is based and influenced by politics. And again, as a society, we've got to view things the way we want society to be, and then strive for those using positive measures, building people up. If there's a certain group of people that don't have opportunities that others do, then not outcomes. There's a huge difference between equality of outcome and equality of opportunity. And all of us should be striving for that quality of opportunity. If somebody is lacking opportunities, man, I'll be right there with them, protesting and doing whatever I need to do to make sure that people have the same opportunities that I have, the same opportunities that anybody else has. But outcomes, totally different. There's right now the Secretary of Defense is an African American, a black guy, and I'll tell you what, he was if I remember right, he was a 4-star general, and frankly, I have not done what he has done to earn the title of Secretary of Defense, and so as a white male, I don't deserve what he has. And frankly, anybody else that's not willing to do the work doesn't deserve what other people have that do deserve or that are doing the work. So if you're lacking an opportunity, huge difference in outcome. If you're lacking an opportunity, which I just don't see it. We've had different races, different genders rise to pretty much every CEO position, every level in government. It's just, the opportunities are there if you're willing to work hard, you're willing to do what you need to do. And, you know, to circle back to what the whole focus on law enforcement, our men and women in blue and our law enforcement officers, whether they're Border Patrol or, you know, FBI or a sheriff's deputy, it doesn't matter. Their job is to enforce the laws, and the laws are based on the Constitution, and the Constitution is established, and the Bill of Rights is established to give us the ability to pursue happiness and however we do that, and or however we see fit, and including you know, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom to bear arms. All of those things are included in the Bill of Rights for a reason, and law enforcement is there to make sure that we have those rights and to enforce the law, and that's why we've got to protect those guys. But like I said, if it's based on, you know, someone's being deprived of an opportunity because of their gender or their sex or their race or anything like that, man, that's just wrong, and we've got to fight against that. But frankly, I think we'd all be hard pressed to actually find that, considering there are people of every different, everything different about us, and yet they've been able to succeed. And so if they can succeed and they've excelled beyond what I have, which there's a ton of them, but all I have to do is see their model and do what they've done, and I should be able to have the exact same success. So it's all based on opportunity, folks. And honestly, the United States, we live in the land of opportunity. There's lots of other amazing countries around the world that have a huge amount of opportunity as well. But you know, the firsthand experience and being an American, I'm here and I see opportunity everywhere. And yeah, I hope you do too. So, all right, guys, we'll talk to you later.